donating a couple bucks on PayPal. All right, let's get into this issue. Joining us now, we've got Eanae. Hey, what's up, Eanae?
Oh, what's going on?
Thank you for joining us today. We are going to talk a little bit about Reddit. And so, you know, we had this email that came in from Nikki7. This was like...
Which was expertly read, by the way.
Three weeks ago. And it sparked quite a bit of debate, quite a bit of controversy. But I do want to say that, you know, the origin of the criticism actually came out of some of the comments that I had made an episode before that about how I felt the Reddit community is run and administrated and moderated. And so you know, we got all of the vitriol out. I think we got all of the
toxicity, would you say?
Maybe, I don't know. I think that's a word that you could use, but
kind of douchey though.
To be fair, I don't think I've ever been quoted using that word, so we'll just leave it. We'll just leave that at that.
No.
Well, actually, subtext, that was a dig at Fusion.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No,
spoilers.
Not very subtle there.
I gotta say, Eanae, Aetheryte Radio, now Limit Break Radio, you're kind of lowering your standards, man.
It's a bit of a downgrade, isn't it?
Next thing you know, you're going to be going on an apology tour.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I've already done plenty of those, trust me.
Oh, man. So anyway, but yeah, if you do want to listen to the latest Aetheryte Radio, those guys spend about 30-45 minutes breaking down the whole thing and talking about you know, some of the issues regarding moderating online communities. And that's actually kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today, Eanae, is Reddit is a really kind of unique animal, especially
really is.
Our FFXIV, because you have this greater monster that is the greater Reddit community that is not just necessarily interested in 14 or not just necessarily interested in video games, but they have a passing interest in all of these things and are potential sources of traffic for you guys. And you guys get a huge amount of traffic. So can you describe some of the challenges of managing a community that and like a discussion space that is that large?
Yeah, I can actually go over some of the traffic. And on average, we go between about 600,000 to 1.5 million unique viewers per month, which is a lot of fucking people. I mean, even at the low end, 600,000, which we were in October versus the 1.5 in July. So you can see it's kind of down by at least half.
Right.
I mean, the expansion brought a lot of people in, brought a lot of attention in, and that kind of died off slowly. But as a whole, Reddit loves drama, and Reddit loves thinking they're right about things.
Yes.
So especially when the LBR drama hit, one of the biggest reasons where we nuked all these threads was they got linked in a subreddit called Subreddit Drama.
Oh.
And I don't know if you guys know what this subreddit is.
No.
But it's basically a bunch of drama-hungry people who go around scouring all these subreddits, which they really don't care about, trying to find juicy things that are happening, and then they link back to it in their subreddit. And basically all these people, they're not technically supposed to, but they come into these threads and they basically feed and fuel this drama and upvote and downvote everyone, yada, 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 trying to create this more hostile environment.
Right,
because
right.
that's what's fun.
How little of a life might these people have if they spend their time doing that?
That sounds really, really fun.
I actually, well, that's the thing is that, I mean, I'm sure just some of those people, they don't have an emotional investment in it. And
no, they have no. I mean, these people don't visit these subreddits. Like, if you look at their history,
right,
their entire history is nothing but posts to subreddit drama,
right,
and all that stuff, because they basically live off creating this drama.
Yeah, that was something that I was actually totally not aware of. I did not know that it got linked to subreddit drama, although I was aware of that subreddit.
How much of an effect did that actually happen, though? Because our first thread that actually stayed up enough to garner, comments and upvotes, I think got somewhere like 90-something upvotes and close to 300 comments. When I was reading through there, And granted, I just kind of scanned for mention of LBR in my name, but for the most part, a lot of the comments, were pretty on point. They were somewhat civil.
They seemed relatively productive too. Yeah.
Part of our job is trying to prevent that from happening in the first place. Like we have the auto moderator bot, and there's a bot on Reddit called like Totes Metabot or something like that.
Right.
Whenever your thread is linked cross subreddit, the bot will warn us in mod mail saying, hey, this shit's about to go down. And typically our policy is we don't want these people shitting up our subreddit.
Got it. So it was
just basically go fucking Russia and just lay everything.
It was sort of like a protective measure.
Right.
That makes sense.
And the most recent one that happened was, I don't know if you saw that Lalafell fan art thread where like the Lalafell's panties were showing or something.
No, I didn't.
People were going crazy over that, and that went to subreddit drama. And I mean, it's a headache because when you're Reddit is massive. It's like the number like 3 or 4 most visited site on the internet or something like that. That's not porn.
Right.
So when people catch on to this, you get a massive influx, and it gets really, really crazy.
Yeah, no, and that's I think that's pretty understandable, and like I said, our FFXIV is inherently different from running something like a Blue Garter or like running our forums.
You're being...
in that it was like it's actually part of a greater community, a greater whole that I thinking of like meta stuff like that goes down on Reddit, it happens all the time.
I feel like you're being weirdly agreeable today in Nero, because I feel like when it comes down to that kind of moderation, like being like, oh well, we want to stop this before it happens, so if here's a thread that seems somewhat productive and there's a chance that it could go down the drain, let's just nuke the thread. That I feel like that could take out a lot of really good content, especially when you know
in the thread,
when you know where like who's causing these. You have this whole subreddit of people who are specifically out to create drama. You said yourself they have a really sporadic posting history. So when you see someone posting in one of these threads, who's never been to this subreddit before, instead of taking down the whole thread, what's to stop you from trying to just take out these people that are instigating the drama? Because really it seems like what you're doing is treating the symptoms rather than the cause.
I mean, that's definitely a fair analysis of it. I mean, it really also depends on what time it comes out and stuff like that. Sometimes it depends on the nature of the content, and like this content, it's really, really easy to latch on to some of the more negative aspects of what was said in that video. And we did leave it up for a while, and people started getting really angry and being, it was the fuck LBR, so it was the fuck Reddit, and it's like, fuck everyone, screw it, let's just hate everyone. So, I mean, Reddit, we do try and be a little all-inclusive, and I know you give us shit for being a little too PC, and I think maybe we are, maybe we aren't. I mean, if you read around, like, people always say, oh, you're selective moderating, you banned me for saying this, why didn't you ban that guy for saying that? I mean, we can't read every comment, and not every comment really crosses that threshold.
Well, and especially
being jerks,
and especially with the amount of traffic that you're getting too. How many people are on the moderation staff?
I want to say between active moderators, we maybe have 5 right now.
Wow.
I think there's maybe like 13 total. We have 2 in the Japanese time zone, and then the rest cover the North American time zone. So a lot of shit, which people are like, why didn't you delete this thread, happens during the Japanese time zone. Because if those 2 mods are busy, and a thread gets through and it already has like 300 upvotes in the morning, all of a sudden if we delete that thread, we become shit mods who are censoring people.
I'll give you this though, when it comes to the idea of the selective moderating, knowing how your little bot thing sends out mail and basically warns you of impending links that have been spammed all over the place. I think that the selective process doesn't come so much from favoritism or hating on certain groups as it does, like, for example, one of the big criticisms is, oh, you take down all these great threads that could potentially have good content, but you leave up shitty things like fan art and all this other crap.
If you have an example of a thread that was going to provide great content, then I'd love to look at it, because
not off the top of my head, I don't do Reddit.
Right, we do try and listen to feedback.
Right.
We definitely do.
And knowing you have that bot measure, obviously the bot's not going to go around and warn you guys of fan art, So that, to me makes a little bit more sense that things like that end up staying up, but things that are being linked all over the place and trying to start drama wouldn't be.
The bot does about 95% of the moderating for us. I spent a lot of time putting the backbone into this bot. It's very, very rule-based, so when you see the flares on all these posts, the bot does all that for you. So we don't have to go through and sit here, okay, this is fan art, this is discussion.
Right. And users can categorize that themselves, too. Yeah.
So because the bot does that, it makes our filter system even greater. Because now, all of a sudden, if it's 6 o'clock in the morning and we're all asleep and you're browsing Reddit, you can still use your filters and not see all this shit you didn't want to just because it hasn't, no one's got around to tagging it yet.
Right.
And I mean, the bot does a lot of the moderating for us. It will warn us when things are going bad. It'll tell us, hey, this is getting a lot of reports and a lot of attention. It basically is the best tool to go through all these posts because, personally, I don't know how the other mods do it, but I'll read through a thread once, and, if I read through it once, I'm probably not going to go read through it again. It's like, okay, is this comment new? I got to police this shit. And it's like, no, I don't really care. If shit's going bad and, really bad, people will send us a mod mail. The bot will warn us, hey, this is getting a lot of downvotes. You should probably check this out. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's not like I'm actively policing to oppress people and beat them with my mod sticks.
Right,
not how it works.
Well, is there a difference in the way that the mods can parse out or do parse out and I know that a lot of times this just comes down to personal discretion and personal feelings about whatever the discussion is, but is there a way to verifiably differentiate between what is considered a toxic conversation and what is considered a heated conversation that can also be productive? Because I think that one of the things that we do here at Limit Break Radio and that we really embrace is the idea that conversation, no matter how shitty it is, no matter how shitty the discussion is or how shitty the tone of whatever the message is, that the discussion that comes out of it is really the important thing and the driving factor. And at a place like Reddit and on places such as forums, there is I know that we when we were moderating our own forum at limitbreakradio.com, we would be very tuned into discussions that were heated and making sure that it didn't cross some kind of line, and we had gone to very great lengths to define what that line was. Do those definitions exist to you guys, or is that down to personal discretion of the mod?
It's personal discretion right now. That's definitely something, now that I'm hearing you say it, is probably something we should have in writing. We definitely try and put everything in writing that we possibly can, and we're going actually over rule revamping now. I don't know if you guys know, but we actually revamped our self-promotion rule due to Anero's feedback that we were stifling content creators.
That's interesting. How is the rule changed?
So the rule is not our rule.
Yeah, that's a Reddit. It's
a Reddit rule. You have to have, for every one post you make of your own promoting something you did, you need to have 9 posts elsewhere. That's the Reddit rule.
Oh, I didn't know that was the ratio.
That's the ratio, and it's a complete crap ratio, and everyone agrees it's crap.
Yeah.
And shortly after you came out with that letter thing, the CEO of Reddit was put on record as saying, "We hate this rule. We're going to change it. Stand by."
Oh, so you're saying that LBR changed the entirety of Reddit? Because that's what I'm hearing personally.
Well, coincidental timing. We'll just put it that way. So we basically heard the CEO say that, and we're like, we've always not really agreed with this rule. We just kind of had to do it because we don't feel like getting our community banned.
Right.
So we changed our rule, and now we're not doing a set, you have to post this much stuff or we're going to ban you.
Right.
So the way we changed the rule until the new official Reddit rule comes out is you're free to promote your stuff as long as you do other things other than promote just your own stuff. I don't care if it's 50% you, 50%, taking part in the community. But if you're going on there to just, okay, here's my video, here's my Twitter, my video.
Right.
Come on, that's stupid. The entire point behind Reddit is that I can see, oh, hey, LBR is pretty cool. I'm going to post this video to Reddit to show everyone I think it's cool.
Sure.
I mean, it's not for you as a content creator to go, I want more views, I want money, here's my stuff, gimme, gimme, gimme.
Right.
That's not the ideals behind Reddit. And Reddit does exist for you to help get yourself out there a little bit. I mean, if you're actively posting on other subreddits, you can go, hey, I made this thing. Is it cool? Do you like it? Give me feedback. And that's fine. That's the ideals behind Reddit.
All right, so I have a question for you then, because it's really easy with all that's happened to look back in hindsight and be able to say all this. We're looking forward. But let's take something, for instance. Joe Never was shadow banned. I don't know if that type of thing...
We had zero to do with that. Basically, this was actually... You're going to love this one. I can actually tell you what happened here. Guildwork users got really salty over the fact that he was posting his Friday Night Fights.
Really? Really? No.
So they reported him to the Reddit administration, and the Reddit administration banned him because actively engaging in. He did break the Reddit rules. I'm going to give him that. We warned him, and he didn't stop. He asked on his stream and his Twitter for upvotes, and that is the biggest no-no. And Blizzard employees have gotten banned from Reddit for doing this. Okay. So it's not like
unfortunate.
It's not like they're shafting the little man.
Well, because what I always about that particular instance was like, all right, in some cases, yes, like if we post a video or if Joe Never posts a link to his thing, obviously that's giving him views. So that is quote unquote promotion. But at the same time, like his whole thing was he was trying to get more people involved in an event on his data center. And it's like, how do you go about bringing people into something that you're trying to give more publicity to without, just through collateral, promoting yourself?
The game was kind of like, it was in the lull before the patches, and he's like, people are bored, I'm going to give them something to do. I don't see that as so much self-promotion as much as like giving people something to do.
It would have been fine, but he was also including his stream link and asking people to upvote it. You can't really do that. You can't go asking for upvotes. You have to let the community hive mind decide how they're feeling that day.
I see that, but without the upvotes, people aren't going to see it, and then the event's going to fail. I feel like it's not so much saying like I want money
has to be in place, or else people like corporations like Coke is going to come in, post their Coca-Cola sponsored content, and the entire corporate structure of Coke is going to come upvote their thread.
No, and the Reddit, the Reddit rules do serve a really kind of important function, and especially like in the the really early days of Reddit, it very could have been, if they didn't have the self-promotion rule, it very well could have been only a vehicle for people to say, hey, check out my shit. I mean, it's like if you go to the podcast subreddit, that is the most boring, empty subreddit because it's only people posting their show, and who gives a shit about that? Like, and I get it. I totally understand why a lot of these rules exist. But I'm actually kind of curious, how did the information that Joe was asking for upvotes, like, was that actually typed into his post, or was he making...
I think that was in his VOD. Like, they actually he had VOD proof of it happening.
Yeah, because
I couldn't actually watch the VOD because I was at work, and it's blocked at work.
Yeah, but you weren't responsible for actually banning him, so...
No.
That's
all right, that's fair enough.
That's hard to hold you responsible for.
We had zero to do with it, and we actually worked with him to get his account reinstated, which it was.
Oh, that's good. So, but one of the things that I think is kind of frustrating from like a content creator standpoint is that when you have rules that are like that like the no self-promotion rule, is that it's not just like the moderators and you guys using it as in an official capacity to lock or shut down threads, but it's actually like the rest of the community that can use that as sort of a cudgel and a reason to downvote things. And so I think as a content creator, when you go to Reddit and when you're trying to put your product out there, if you have a product that's sort of like just an entertainment based product, that what you're looking for is feedback, and just getting downvotes or not getting just getting downvotes, no comments, or just getting comments about how it violates the rules of the subreddit. I mean, while I understand the function, it is kind of frustrating for a content creator to keep receiving that sort of thing because it's just an additional tool to be able to bludgeon or criticize their work unfairly instead of on the merits of their work itself. So, and that's just a personal feeling. And like I said, I do understand why the rules exist, but I think it does actually have an impact on a community like our FFXIV, which I think should kind of be like a cross section of what the whole community of Final Fantasy XIV should have to offer. And it just seems like there is a way greater there's a way greater pool of stuff like, requests for help or, like kind of the fluff, what you would consider fluff content. Right. And then, some of the other cooler things that exist in the community, sort of like music covers. And I'm not just saying podcasts just to be biased for me, but there's a ton of music covers that the greatest diversity of content could potentially come from the FFXI subreddit. Yeah, and I think that just people's maybe experience of posting, like they try to post something and they don't have a good experience, they don't come back, or like that whole experience that I just outlined, that was something that I had experienced when I had, when we had first tried to bring Limit Break Radio back and we'd started trying to talk about it on Reddit. And so I feel like, in those instances, that maybe, and this is just a personal feeling and a personal criticism from me, that may be an instance for a mod to step in and say, hey, it's not really your place to say whether it's appropriate or not. And I mean, I called the idea baby modding in the past, and we've gone through this before and sort of like passively allowed that to happen instead of stepping in and being active and saying, no, you don't get to judge what's appropriate content. Yes, that's something that actually I wanted to ask Eanae about specifically, is your thoughts on baby modding, because you mentioned how there are some threads where it just gets way out of hand way too quickly, and in a lot of cases that I saw, it starts with people who think that it's okay to go in there and start being, oh, this is self-promotion, blah 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 blah. They start throwing down, and some people are tactful about it, some people aren't, and as a result that ends up creating flames. So when you come in here and you have actual valid content that's being completely ignored because of all the flaming, and when the actual mods come in and see it, they just see all the flaming and they remove the entire thing. And you're right, as a content creator, that is extremely frustrating, but even as a content consumer, you're missing out on so much at that point. Right, because even if the mods passively allow the content because they recognize, oh, this person is an active member of our FFXIV outside of what they're posting, it just takes like 4 or 5 people from the community to come in and say, hey, you're self-promoting and that's not allowed, even though the mods are allowing it. So is there something that you guys do in instances like that, or? So we actually have a rule that's no backseat modding, which is basically the baby modding. If you're not that's a moderator, a good way to put it, you're not allowed to dictate what is and what isn't allowed. And if we actually see the people doing that, we'll delete their posts, say, hey, you can't be doing this. And if they continue doing it, which in case we have a user who's notoriously bad at this, his name's like Yemd or something like that. Why hasn't he been banned yet then? Because he has been. All right, so I'm going to say, if there's only so much that you can do. If I could go 2 years, we've banned him about maybe 70 or 80 times. Wow. And I am not exaggerating. Because every time he gets banned, he makes a new account, and moderators have zero tools to ban people who... We went through that. We went through that. We know that. People who have access to that are the Reddit admins. Yeah. And we have sent them countless messages about this guy. It's like, hey, this guy's made a new account again. He's made a new account again. And a couple weeks later, he's made another account again. And it's hard to find him until he specifically starts doing this stuff again, because he'll lay low for a while. Kala, we know all about that. Oh my God, yeah. If I could send a message like us in the past and we had the LBR forum, I would be like, this person, just fucking ban them. Get it over with. So we even gave them a second chance after being banned. Yeah. Oh man. So I mean, if we had the tools to take care of sock puppet accounts, we definitely would. But the Reddit tools that they give us moderators are very, very bare bones. We can't see if you have multiple accounts. We can't see if you're upvoting your own post twice. We can't see this. We can't see that. We can't see a lot of things.
And going back to your thing about people posting negative feedback like that on like posts and stuff, the Reddit hive mind is very, very strong, and this is true for every subreddit.
That is true.
That if someone has, so we'll use LBR as an example. So you post LBR on Reddit, doesn't matter what subreddit, you post it there. Someone who's never heard of LBR before comes in, and they make a huge shit post about how terrible you guys are. Now, a bunch of other people are going to come in who've never heard of LBR, and they're going to see that first comment there that's talking about how terrible you guys are. The way Reddit works is that's now Reddit's opinion. Because that's the first thing they saw on something they had no opinion on before.
Right.
They want to fit in. So that's their opinion, and that's
you know what? That's fine.
And I
Negative
think that's
comments
okay.
are fine.
Yeah.
It's just when the baby modding happens. And for me, one of the reasons that happens is like a Nero and like a lot of people, like I understand the need for rules, right? But what you also have to realize is the reason you have mods isn't to necessarily enforce those rules, but to interpret those rules, all right? Back to Joe Never's content, all right? Had he not done the little upvoting thing or asked people for upvotes or blah, 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 if he had just posted and was like, hey, you know, I'm trying to get more attention drawn to this to increase PvP activity on our stream, you know, please, you know, think about, you know, queuing up on Friday nights or whatever it was.
Yeah.
There are a lot of baby mods that I think would see that and be like, nope, self-promotion, get the fuck out of here. But how else are you supposed to do that, you know?
Right.
Like that, to me, if I was in a mod position, that's something that would be allowed.
Yeah.
Wow, really?
Yeah, because the point isn't necessarily to promote yourself, but to help create awareness in the community
I thought
about
you meant
an
the
event.
baby modding being allowed. Yeah, no.
No.
Joe's posts are definitely allowed.
Yeah.
We've never. I removed one of them that created a shitstorm last week because we made I don't know if you saw, but there's like 60 threads on the diadem, and it's like, this is why the DM's great. This is why the DM is bad. This is why the diadem is neutral, and it's like everyone wants to throw their opinion in. So it's like, fuck it. This is getting out of hand. It's flooding the subreddit. I'll make a mega thread. And right after I made this mega thread, Joe decided to make his opinions clear.
But his wasn't just a diadem opinion. It was an all of 3.1 opinion thread.
And in hindsight, we talked about it as mods. I admitted I was wrong, and we reapproved his post, and then it got downvoted to oblivion, so no one saw it. So it's kind of like, well, okay, whatever.
Idiots doing idiot things because they're idiots.
And you know, that is one thing. You had mentioned this on Eighth Right Radio, and I do want to go back and kind of go back over this, but mods don't have any control over what gets upvoted and downvoted, and that's a Reddit thing. That's totally fair. That's totally legit. And again, the negative the negative comments or critical comments, I think those are great. I think those are fine. What's frustrating is just having your content dismissed out of hand because it's not supposed to be there.
Right.
That's what and then a ton of people, like, you're not just like, maybe some people at that point will end up giving you feedback or whatever on your content that you posted, but it then starts this like kind of two-tiered debate.
It's the same way that the negative comments work. If someone comes in and sees a negative comment, they assume it sucks. So if they come in and say this doesn't belong here, they assume it doesn't belong here, and they just pile onto that monkey.
And this is definitely something I can take back to ModMail after we're done, and because we do have the rule there. It's just, I guess, not strictly enforced as much as it should be right now. Because, like I said, I typically read through things once, and then unless things start getting reported, which I'm going to come out and say, if you see things that break the rules, report them, because we go over those reports. Like, Reddit does give us tools to view everything that has a report on it, and we do go through that queue. So if you think someone's breaking one of our Reddit rules, report the post, and we will take care of it.
Good to know.
So if you want to be a baby,
we're not omniscient. Omnipotent. We don't see everything. We don't know everything.
Right.
So if things are happening in these threads after we've read them, because I mean we're consumers of the content just like you are.
Right.
And I said this on Eighth Right Radio. Like, I don't mod to what I want to see on the subreddit, because if I did, there'd be nothing on the subreddit, because I don't care about your cat girl fan art. I don't care that you think A3 is too RNG because you suck at the game. I mean, I want to see endgame elitist type content that you get on BG, but BG exists for a reason, so I go to BG for that kind of stuff.
Right.
Like, so if I modded Reddit to what I want, Reddit would be completely different. I moderate Reddit to what we as a group collectively decided the rules are.
Sure.
And people always, me specifically, try and claim I'm a bias mod, and that's not true at all. I mean, once upon a time, back in like 2012, I'd probably agree with you now that I did some shady shit, and specifically around the Titan drama. I don't know if you guys remember that at all. That happened back then.
Titan?
So in 2012, story time. We're going off on a little tangent here. We were streaming our Titan sales, Foldosaurus Rex.
Oh, I do. Now I remember this.
Okay.
The minute you said it, I remember this. Yeah, okay. All right.
So yeah, Foldosaurus Rex was streaming our Titan sales and he didn't have his chat covered up. And we were joking around in our link shell chat about how we could, boost sales, boost our profits, because we realized on the Gilgamesh server, they were selling for like 3 times the price we were selling on Ultra. So we're like, okay, we're getting gypped here. We need to raise our price.
Right.
So we were talking about price fixing with other groups who were selling Titan, and that got people really salty. And then someone, not me, came out and said, hey, we should join Titan pugs and sabotage them so they have to come buy from us. We all had a little bit of laugh about this, but someone watching Fold's stream saw this and posted it to Reddit.
Oh, okay.
And now it turned into Reddit mods sabotaging Titan runs when I wasn't even the one who said it in the first place. We were just kind of like, ha ha ha, that's funny.
It was a joke, you bitch!
Yeah, right.
So, and I handled that terribly. Like,
at least you can admit it. I mean,
right.
That's the thing is, as long as we can embrace our mistakes, I think,
So I handled it like I used to post on BG, where I told everyone they were stupid. And that does not go over well. I lost about 1,500 karma in the span of about a week.
Wow, that is pretty significant. Although, I do kind of want to mention, it does seem like sometimes criticism that's leveled at maybe other communities or somebody's video or something, when it's leveled at them, it kind of gets a pass. But if it's leveled at if that same level of passion and criticism is leveled at the subreddit and the way that it's moderated, that's quickly shut down, and that I think that creates a bad it's a bad visual for you guys, in that anyone, it feels like anyone's kind of fair game except the mods themselves on Reddit. So is there a space that you guys have made for a meta discussion about the rules on Reddit, or for the users to, because that was the most interesting thing for me about seeing our video get posted to Reddit and then the ensuing conversation, is that it did seem to spark a lot of internal criticism, this was written way over the top, but there's some good points and there's some merit here. And I'm glad to hear that you guys are taking a lot of that feedback seriously. It's clear from me, in the time that we've been talking to you in our conversations on BG and through your conversations at Eighth Right Radio, that you are taking all of this feedback, very seriously and bringing it back to the mods. But was there a space that existed before that, or is that something that you'll maybe start being a little bit more receptive to?
After the cooldown period, I did make a meta thread about the whole drama thing. I think you even linked it on Twitter.
I may have,
where people could specifically come back and give their feedback about this entire situation.
Gotcha.
And the thing with all these feedback threads is whenever we try something interesting, people 50% agree with it and 50% disagree, because it's such a massive community.
Yeah.
It's impossible to get a high percentage of someone to agree on something. Back in 2014, we tried stealth posts only. We tried moving the downvote arrow, and oh god, that exploded.
Yeah, I do remember that. Yeah.
People hated that, but it worked, funny enough. The average number of upvotes was actually up, but people hated it so much that we're like, okay, well, they're vocal about it, we have to add it back, and that was that. So we do try things, and they usually blow up in our face, because the vocal minority always wins and is always the loudest. But we do take feedback pretty seriously, and if people make their own meta threads about, hey, this is what I think the subreddit should do, you'll always notice either me or Rezef going into these threads and talking it out with people.
Okay. All right.
Specifically, like whenever we change like the subreddit theme, there's usually a lot of things that come up in that, and we're always really active. And like people are like, "Hey, the color of the ball on the Moogle's too bright. Can you change it?"
That's
It's like even
legitimate
stupid
because
things.
everyone knows that glamour is the true end game.
Exactly.
So yeah, I do want to spend just a second here before we wrap up to talk about like the cross section of content that exists on Reddit, and we actually got an email about this. Kahlo, do you want to read this?
Of course I do.
Yeah,
A resident email reader.
Also,
by the way, spoiler alert, it's definitely not from Nikki 7, so it's don't have to worry about that.
Just for my own personal curiosity, what did you think of my reading of Nikki 7's email?
Oh my gosh.
Eat a dick.
Actually, everyone in my static thought it was brilliant. They loved it. They loved the reading.
You can tell your static that I love all of them.
Okay.
All right. Hey, LBR crew. A bit late to the conversation about Reddit, but for after listening to episode 36 and 37, I felt compelled to do a visual study of the Reddit threads. Attached is my study of the types of threads that have been posted on our FFXIV from the main page, going as far back as it would let me. 978 threads total. All maps lie. Every map or infographic ever created only shows what the creator of the images focuses on. Think of a world map that shows geography versus a world map that shows country borders. Same world, but emphasis on different topics. So take this study with a grain of a Nero salt as it highlights... Ooh, they're actually using your name instead of salt.
That's funny.
That.
I like that.
Take it with a grain of a Nero as it highlights the categories defined by the FFXIV subreddit. When I got out of doing this study, and what you guys might get out of this study may be different, but the main issue I discovered is that it mixes a handful of good conversations with hundreds of screenshots, questions, and discussions that should be labeled fluff. Other than doing the study for myself, I hope you guys will find this interesting to look at the very least, as I spent well over 10 hours on this. Editor's note, Juxta uploaded a picture here. Sincerely...
You're not supposed to read the editor's note, you dumbass!
Sincerely, Ramina Garamond, Male Hyor, Dark Knight, rest in peace, Paladin.
Eat my dick!
Of Gilgamesh.
And I will put I'm going to go ahead and just put the visual study on the screen, and we're going to go ahead and send this to you, Eanae, as well.
All right.
Because I think that this is a very interesting breakdown of information. It's very hard to read. I noticed that. What?
Really quick, that wasn't the end of the email. They have PSs.
Okay.
P.S. I found Lemon Break Radio in a Reddit thread around June of this year and have been listening to the podcast ever since. I love the show and you guys. This is my first time writing in. P.S.S. Ramina is pronounced Remina, not Ramina. Whoops. Put that at the beginning of your email next time. P.S.S.S.S. Hi, Nika.
Hi.
So of the 978 posts of our FFXIV, and I like at the top, it does have a small typo. It says RXXFIV. Anyway, the discussion, there were 358 discussion posts, making up of about 36.6 of all of the posts. The next would be questions with 337 posts, making up 34% of all of the posts. Screenshots in next at 135 posts with 13%. And then finally, we start getting down into media, which gets a measly 33 posts, only making up 3.4%. We've got mod posts, news, fan art, comedy, guides, and miscellaneous that all come in now down in the 2% and lower ranges.
Is the point of this study to counter the argument that all that you see is fluff posts on Reddit, and they're basically pointing out, look, the majority of the posts are actual legitimate discussions and questions? Well,
I mean, again, I think that what was nice is that this emailer left us to draw our own conclusions from the data. But what I find interesting is that there is a substantial collection of discussion and questions, which those can run the gamut from those can run the gamut from anything between asking specifics about end game events to how do I move my character in the world.
Yeah, because they said in the email themselves that the big issue was that what goes under discussion and question could easily be fluff if it's how do I make a penis in my free company yard.
Right.
It's easily a question or a discussion.
Now hold on.
Which
that is very
falls
important.
Under fluff.
That is very important. That is a worthy
as
discussion.
Juxta said, glamour is the end game.
Glamour is the end game, right? Well, but
Juxta didn't say that today. Kahlo said that today, but Juxta has said it.
But I do think you know, like I do think when you look at the spread of you know, the what kind of content seems to be pooling at the top, it does seem to be a high degree of discussions, questions, and screenshots. And then, you know, like I was saying earlier, and this is just my personal view, and you know, maybe, and I'm entitled to be wrong, and you guys are entitled to run the subreddit any way you want. But you know, I would think that there's a great opportunity here to be a cross section of the community, and it seems to me like there's way more going on in Final Fantasy XIV than 33 media posts and 11 guides.
Well,
you know,
how far back does this go? Because this certainly doesn't go back very far.
No, I think they
said 789 threads.
No, 978 is the farthest
Right,
back.
but like time frame, time period.
Yeah,
it was a couple of weeks ago.
This did get sent to us a couple of weeks ago, and they said that.
Right, but I'm saying from a couple weeks ago, how far back from then?
It says, attached is my study of the types of threads that have been posted on our FFXIV from the main page, going as far back as it would let me. So
I mean, if you're going through pages, eventually it's going to stop you. So, and like, unless I know the time frame of when the very last thread he checked was, in this information, it's definitely useful. And I think that what stands out the most to me as a mod is that the guides is particularly low on there.
It really does seem very low, because
I can guarantee you, if you go to the guides filter or search for guides, there's way more than 11 guides.
Sure.
So,
and even
if I had to guess, I'd probably say this goes back maybe 3 or 4 months, maybe starting at the point where 3.0 started dying off.
Yeah, I would guess that maybe this was a cross section of time. Yeah, maybe just after 3.1 hit, or just before even, maybe. So also, yeah, the data may be a little bit.
It also doesn't show what was upvoted and downvoted. So I mean, when people say that you only see fan art and there's only, you know, out of 1,000 posts there's only 21 fan arts, keep in mind that like that 358 discussion could have been downvoted to hell, and all 21 of those cat girls could have been upvoted to hell.
Sure.
So I mean,
I actually think if the snapshot was taken at a bit more of an active time in the game in terms of content, that the spread of data would be a little bit different. But I mean, I did think that this was a really interesting email, and that you know, the fact that someone, you know, put that much time and effort into doing a little bit of research on what does display on our FFXIV would be valuable, you know, for you, Eanae, to be able to take back to the mods over at Reddit. So I'm definitely going to pass this email along to you, and yeah, you guys can draw your own conclusions. But I thought it was just a very interesting cross section of what does actually make it there. So.
All right, yeah, definitely. I'll definitely post this out to a mod post and see what we can get from this.
Interesting. All right, well, I think this has been a really interesting and productive conversation.
Now, unfortunately, we're not going to be able to post it to our website because LBR has very strict rules against self-promotion.
But no, I really do. Eanae, I really do want to thank you for your time this afternoon, and I think that, you know, like we both on both sides of the fence, that you know, we've been able to get a little bit of a better context on how Reddit runs its community, and we really do appreciate you for that point of view.
And I think everybody involved, you know, that saw how big of dicks we can be on both BG and Reddit, and now, you know, hearing us here in this interview, you know, understand that underneath those big, giant, colossal dicks is only, you know, kind of dicks.
And you know, that's the other thing is and I do want to commend you, Eanae, in our conversation on Reddit. You know, you definitely, or I'm sorry, not on Reddit, on Blue Garter, you definitely were able to identify that a lot of what we do here at Limit Break Radio is to get attention. You know, like I think in general, it's not just a thing about Reddit, right? Like self-promotion in general these days is kind of frowned upon. People look at it and they're like, ugh, it doesn't get much of a response, right? Like when we push stuff on Facebook, nobody's really that interested in it. And it's really hard as a content creator to get people's attention. And, you know, like I think that one of the things that we learned doing the FF11 show is that playing it safe with your show doesn't get it a whole lot of attention. You do think you blow things up to comedic or entertaining effects, and way more people actually because they're entertained by it or because they want to see some epic flame out or whatever it is, they latch onto it, and that becomes I don't remember who identified the term, but it was like dramatizing, like putting drama and advertising together, and it's kind of true. Like that's the kind of game that you have to play as like a content creator these days, where you're like, all right, well, what can I do that's going to get the most attention? And sometimes it's being a fucking asshole.
Sometimes it's making a red Starbucks cup.
Well, you're not wrong there.
I took my cheap shots on BG. I admit that much. I have fun in drama as much as everyone else.
Yeah, it is fun. That's
I've been on
the
BG
thing.
how long? Since 2005 or something like that now.
Yeah.
So, I've been on BG a long time. I've been part of these drama threads, and they're fun. Sometimes the fun goes down a little bit when everyone's piling on you, but at the same time, you have to take some hits, you have to give some hits.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, it's all in fun, and I've never really had a problem with your show. I'm not lying when I said I had never actually heard of you guys before this drama started. So, coming into this is like, who the hell are these guys?
That's
just
the
coming
point.
out of left field with a fucking kick to the back of my head like I'm Ronda Rousey.
And that's the thing is that sort of accentuates my point is that you've been very active in FF11 and FF14 obviously for years and years and years, and you had never heard of us, and we've been around for 10 fucking years making our noise.
Right. Despite how this went down, like this ended up like we came out winners either way because our traffic has spiked. Huge.
Yeah, we did. We saw a nice spike in traffic, and the thing is that a lot of people were like, yeah, but people are going to hear this and hate your show. Okay, that's fine. That's great. They heard it though.
Yeah,
they were. There was an equal.
But you have heard of them.
There was an equal chance that you would have heard my show if I was pandering to you, and you would have liked it and hated it. There was an equal chance that people would have done the same thing. So fuck it.
The other option was you never hear.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. You definitely do.
Exactly.
And when you read that letter, you definitely didn't know that this guy would turn out to be a sociopath. So
yeah, no, and that's and again, we don't vet the people who email the show. We don't vet the people who
someone
call
in
in.
chat says, so they did this just for self-promotion and attention rather than because they care about the issues. Well, I guess I can't speak to the rest of my hosts, but yeah. For me, this is all about getting bitches and money, okay? That's all it's ever been.
No, there was definitely some legitimate criticism in there too. But a lot of people took us to task and were like, they shouldn't have read the email. That was irresponsible.
What people need to realize is that everyone with a public face plays a character.
Yes.
Almost everyone with a public face is never going to be who they actually are.
That is
myself
true.
And myself included.
Check out all these zany characters.
I play very PC on Reddit, but I'd like to think I'm as much of an asshole as anyone else. I'm a complete dick, and I'll admit that. But when it comes to my position on Reddit and what I do, I need to play nice, and I will continue to play nice because we're trying to be all-inclusive, and that's what Reddit is.
That's your job. I'm using air quotes, but that's your job. Yeah. We get it. Well, thank you again. Thank you, Eanae, for the time today. And I think that this was a valuable discussion. We both, everyone learned a lot, I think, today. We thank you for your time. It's been a very interesting conversation.
Before I go, I just want to say if anyone has any constructive feedback, please feel free to make a meta post on the subreddit and post your feedback. It's definitely welcome. If you don't want it public facing, you're more than welcome to send us a mod mail, and we will definitely read it and get back to you.
And I think what we're going to do is we'll highlight this conversation and we'll go ahead and post it over on Reddit and
that's sure to spark some discussion.
Yeah, and we'll see. We'll see what kind of discussion it generates, and I'll make this promise. I will stay very tuned in and plugged into the discussion that goes on in that thread, including criticism and discussion about Limit Break Radio. So if in this kerfuffle there have been Reddit folks that have wanted to give me the riot act for whatever, go for it. I'll be happy to address that. Now, as we all saw on BG, I'm not one to shy away from this stuff. I really love engaging on this stuff. So and again, I do think a really really valuable conversation has come out of it, and it's making. I think it's just the conversation in general makes the community better, and we all benefit from it. So again, Eanae, thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
CDT Eurosport in the chat says, "What the fuck? I wanted more yelling. Well, strap in because this ride ain't over yet."